The day the college entrance exam ends, the school beauty pulls me, right in front of the whole class, into the little grove. Before I can even react, she actually kisses me right on the mouth. A sweet, girlish scent bursts across my tongue. Then her voice trembling with tears, she says, "Theo, I'll give you my heart, everything I have from this day on, as long as you agree to one thing. My life is yours." She catches me off guard. It turns out her mother is sick, and urgently needs 600,000 for surgery. 600,000 to a rich kid slacker like me, that's barely half a month's allowance. But I turn her down without a second thought. The heart of a top student ice queen does sound precious. Too bad I don't believe in love. My parents got married for family interests, and they've kept up the perfect couple act for over 20 years. Do they have hearts? Maybe. But their hearts belong to other people outside the marriage. So don't talk to me about hearts. I don't buy it. I straighten up, walk right up to her, a full head taller. I can see every tremble of her lashes, and the crystal tears clinging to them. I reach out a hand. She freezes, and instinctively shuts her eyes. My finger flicks lightly against her forehead. Brielle stiffens, opens her eyes and stares at me, lost. I pull my hand back, look straight into her eyes, and say one word at a time. "Brielle, get this straight. Right now, do you want me to be a scumbag taking advantage of you, or do you want me to be a decent guy showing some kindness and helping you out?" She is completely stunned, staring blankly. Her brain has clearly crashed, but I'm patient. I just look at her. Finally it clicks. Her tense shoulders collapse in an instant. Brielle, with a sliver of humble hope, whispers thin as a mosquito's hum, "Help me, please." I flatly shake my head. "No, I'm not a charity. I've got plenty of money, but I don't spend it where it's not needed. 600,000 could buy me dozens of Napoleon pastries." The plea in her eyes instantly turns to despair. Watching her look like she's about to shatter, the little cruel streak in me fades. I shift gears. "But I don't want to be a scumbag or a good guy. We can be business partners. Your grades are solid. You're what they call a promising stock. So I can lend you the money as a personal investment. 600,000. I can wire it to you right now." Her eyes blaze with disbelief and joy. "But I have one condition. In 10 years you pay me back 1 million. The interest isn't high. For you it shouldn't be hard. At the same time you must get into a top university in the entrance exam 1 month from now. That's step 1 in proving you have the potential to pay me back. And it's the risk control clause on this investment." She grabs onto it like the last straw, nodding hard, terrified I'll change my mind. I leave her my number, turn around, and walk off. I don't bother looking back to see her expression. Stepping out of the grove, the sunlight warms my skin. Honestly, I never cared whether she'd pay me back. 600,000 really is nothing to me. The contract terms are just for show. Otherwise, every random person would come asking me for money. Even my fortune couldn't survive that kind of burn. 600,000 for the satisfaction of, I did a good deed today, plus a close-up view of the school beauty in distress. That's not a bad trade. After talking with my lawyer, setting a date, I forward the contract to Brielle. That's that. I head toward where I was actually going, a club activity classroom. Through the window I can see what's going on inside. My childhood friend Celine is chatting away with a young guy who looks like a street thug. The Sinclair family and ours go way back. The businesses between two families are tightly linked, so Celine and I count as childhood friends. That part's fine. The real thing is Celine's older sister, Vivienne, a true princess of the elite, beautiful with a strong hand, and the key part is that she's especially good to me. Every time she gives me allowance, the unit is millions. To someone like me who just wants to coast through life, she's basically a walking ATM. On top of that, Vivienne is about to get engaged to my polished, pretentious older brother Julian. Once that happens, she'll officially be my sister-in-law. Family on family. My cushy slacker life gets even more secure. But lately, because of some thug, Celine's grades have slid from top of the class straight down to middle of the pack. When Vivienne came to me specifically asking about it, I knew I had to handle this. After all, if you take someone's money, you've got to do something for them. Before I can even open the door, a guy bursts out and slams right into me. He stumbles back 2 steps, his eyes full of humiliation and bitterness. I recognize him. A poor student Celine used to sponsor. Top grades and honest. From the look on his face, this is probably the classic "I fell for the girl who saved me, but she fell for a thug" sob story. I shake my head, a little amused. Kid's still too young. For trust fund kids like us, throwing money around is mostly a habit, a way to flaunt status. It doesn't mean we're saints. If you really want to repay someone, claw your way up and pay them back in profit. That's how the world works. Throw feelings into it and you're asking for pain. I ignore him and push open the half-closed door. Celine is chatting with Dorian, laughing so hard she's shaking. When she sees it's me, her smile freezes. Her brows snap together, her voice full of wariness and irritation. "Theo, what are you doing here? Are you here to talk me out of being with Dorian too? I'm telling you, don't waste your breath. You useless Ashford young master, you can't even figure out your own life. What gives you the right to lecture me?" I'm not angry. Actually, I want to laugh. I'm not lecturing you. I'm just curious. How does the perfectly behaved Sinclair good girl suddenly fall for this kind of guy? Celine raises her voice, full of disdain. "What do you know? Dorian isn't like you fake rich kids. He lives authentically. He lives freely." She grabs Dorian's arm, her face full of something almost like worship. "This is what being alive feels like. Your by-the-book lives are boring, a waste of breath." Then she turns her aim at me. "Especially you, Theo. Can't study, can't even party right. Other than being an Ashford, what do you have? You're a total waste." I nod, looking like it all just clicked. "Ah, I see. The wind of youth, right? Celine probably thinks she's won me over. A smug look spreads across her face. Dorian puffs out his chest, looking less afraid of me now. The next second, I kick Dorian to the floor and stand over Celine. Sobered up yet? She instinctively steps back under my gaze. Dorian is still groaning on the ground, his eyes flooded with terror as he looks at me. I walk over to Dorian. Didn't you love being authentic? Love being free? Come on, tell me. How does it feel right now? Free enough? Dorian's drenched in sweat from the pain, unable to get a word out. Celine tries to come pull me back, but I glare her into stillness. Weren't you full of attitude? Why aren't you talking now? Dorian is trembling, doesn't dare make a peep. Suddenly I find it all completely dull. This much guts, and you're still out here trying to seduce a rich heiress. I grab the still shaking Celine and drive straight to the west side, the notorious sketchy part of town. I drag Celine out of the car, pin her in a filthy back alley. The thick stench of urine and rotting garbage hits us in the face. Celine throws up on the spot. I point at a few thugs cursing at each other near the alley's mouth, my voice ice cold. Look, this is your wind of youth. Authentic enough? Free enough? If you like it so much I can toss you over there right now. Celine goes pale in an instant, clutching my arm for dear life, sobbing so hard she can barely breathe. I was wrong, Theo. Let's go home, please. Just then, out of the corner of my eye, I catch a familiar figure. It's Dorian. Limping, while I'm not watching, he's actually sneaking away from the other end of the alley. I can't be bothered to chase him. Trash like that isn't worth my time. Celine clearly sees it too. The color drains from her face, and her last shred of fantasy shatters along with that fleeing back. She stops crying, just stands there blank, as if her soul has been pulled out. I shove her back into the car. The whole drive, she doesn't say another word. When we reach the Sinclair house, she opens the door herself and walks inside like a ghost. I don't get out. I just have the driver turn around and head home. That evening, my phone buzzes with a message. It's from Vivian. Theo, thanks. I reply with a "You're welcome" sticker. And that's that. Sure enough, the next 2 days at the Sinclair house are calm. No one comes after me. I know my future sister-in-law Vivian shut it all down. Looks like I played that one right. My cushy slacker life is secure. But the next day, I can't laugh anymore, because Dorian is dead, killed in a car accident. It turns out my future sister-in-law is even more ruthless than I imagined. Suddenly, this family feels terrifying. Everyone wears a polished mask, coldly clearing out every obstacle. My elite older brother Julian is like this. My future sister-in-law Vivienne is like this. I'm the only outlier. Someone who just wants to coast through life. A cold shiver runs through me. I sit straight up in bed. I have to move out, right now. Get far away from these cold-blooded people. Being alive is the only way to keep coasting. Without telling anyone, the next morning, I head downstairs with a suitcase I packed long ago. My mother is in the living room, elegantly sipping her morning tea. She sees me and just barely lifts her eyelids. Her tone flat. Going somewhere? Sleeping somewhere else? She doesn't ask again, just lowers her head back to her finance magazine. My so-called father is nowhere to be seen. This house is cold as a freezer. I drag my suitcase and walk out of that lavish villa without looking back. I have a penthouse downtown that I bought a long time ago. Now it'll finally get some use. The place is huge and empty. The fridge, even emptier. I drive to the largest supermarket nearby. I need to fill this new home with food and junk food. Pushing the cart, I weave through the dazzling shelves. Like a shopping machine, I dump things into the cart with no expression. As I round a corner, I suddenly stop, because in the corner of the snack aisle, I see a girl sneakily stuffing a bag of bread up her sleeve. She looks a few years younger than me, small, in a faded school uniform. She looks clean enough, but her hands clearly aren't. I stay quiet, just lean against the shelf, arms crossed, watching her with interest. She's struggling. The sleeves too small, the bread too big. She tries again and again, beads of sweat breaking out on her forehead. Finally, she seems to sense something. Her motion freezes, and she slowly raises her head. Our eyes meet in midair. I stare at her, saying nothing. In 10 seconds, her face shifts from white to red at a visible speed. Those big eyes fill first with terror, then panic, finally drowning in shame and humiliation so thick they can't dissolve. The hand holding the bread shakes uncontrollably. With a soft thud, the bread falls to the floor. She looks like all her strength has drained out. She wilts entirely, head down, as if she wants to bury her face in the ground. How boring. I walk over, bend down, pick up the bag of bread, and toss it into my cart. Then I sweep all the cookies and candy from the next shelf into the cart too. Quickly, my cart becomes a small mountain. I push the cart up to her. She's still looking down, her whole body tight like she's waiting for a verdict. I nudge her faded canvas shoes with my toe, my tone flat. No money for food? Her body trembles. Then she nods, barely. A second later, like she's remembered something, she shakes her head hard. I get a little impatient. Are you doing mime for me here, nodding and shaking your head? What is it? Speak. My tone gets sharper. She flinches, then suddenly looks up at me. Her eyes red, brimming with tears. She opens her mouth. A few blurred syllables come from her throat. Her hands flail, trying to gesture something. I freeze. In that instant, one thought flashes through my mind. Mute. Watching her panicked, helpless face, my impatience snuffs out instantly. In this moment, I feel like a total jerk. The kind of jerk you'd slap yourself for at midnight, remembering. I don't say anything else. I turn, grab another cart, and load it full of food that stores well. Then I push both carts and signal for her to follow. She still hasn't quite registered what's happening. I can't be bothered to explain. I just grab her wrist and pull her toward the checkout. After paying, I'm carrying all the bags myself. She trails behind me like a little tail, clutching a few of the lightest snack bags. After cramming everything into my sports car, I tell her to get in. She hesitates a moment, then opens the passenger door and slides in. I ask her for her home address. She takes my phone, her tiny fingers tapping the screen for a while, and finally pins a location. an old district, a rundown area I wouldn't even drive past. I say nothing. Just start the car. The whole ride is unsettlingly quiet. She keeps her head down, her hands clenched tight on the corners of her clothes. The car weaves through narrow, broken-down alleys and finally stops in front of a tenement building that looks ready to collapse. I cut the engine, and we carry the food out together. The stairwell is dark and damp, filled with the smell of mold and something I can't name. She leads me up 3 flights, opens a peeling wooden door, and a heavy smell of herbal medicine hits me. The room is small enough to take in at a single glance. Today I finally see what bare 4 walls actually looks like. On a battered wooden bed lies a frail, skeletal old woman, her eyes shut tight, her breathing shallow. The girl sets down her things and rushes to the bedside, tucking the blanket around the old woman with practiced ease, her eyes full of worry. I get it now. It's not that she has no money for food, she has no money to treat her family. She probably stole the bread because she was at the edge of hunger and didn't want to touch the money saved for her grandmother's treatment. Another one of these sob story routines. I really can't stand this kind of thing. The girl, after settling her grandma, comes to me, bows deeply, and picks up a battered exercise book from the table, scribbling something on it. A neat line of handwriting appears. Thank you. How much for these things? I promise I'll pay you back someday. I look at the words, almost amused. Pay me back? With what? Steal another time? I don't say anything. I just pull out my phone and call my personal assistant, speaking briefly into the receiver. Walter, get me a private, very important person room at the downtown hospital. Have an ambulance at the West Side tenement in 15 minutes. I'll send the address. Bill it to my account. The whole thing takes less. The girl is completely dumbstruck. She stares at me with her mouth open, forgetting even to write. I get it. What would take her a lifetime to dream of is something I solve with a single phone call. I nudge the bag at her feet with my foot. What are you standing there for? Pack up. We're going to the hospital. She snaps out of it and immediately starts scrambling. There isn't really much to pack. Just a few faded old clothes, a chipped enamel cup. The ambulance comes fast. Professional medics carefully lift the old woman onto a stretcher. The whole time, the girl grips the corner of my jacket, as if afraid I might suddenly disappear. I feel a bit awkward, but I don't shake her off. At the hospital, everything is arranged perfectly. Private, very important person room, round-the-clock nursing. A top specialist team starts consulting immediately. I stand outside the bright, clean room, watching the busy doctors and nurses, and the girl at the bedside, both frightened and grateful. The shadow I've been carrying since Dorian's death seems to lift a little. Money really can buy a good mood. Just then, my jacket corner is gently tugged again. She holds out that battered notebook in front of me. It says, "How should I repay your kindness?" I lean against the doorframe, looking at her. I didn't say you had to repay me. She panics, her handwriting going messy. No, I can't take your money for nothing. You're a good person. When I see the words good person, the smile at the corner of my mouth grows. These days, even someone like me counts as a good person. Money really is a wonderful thing. I cut off her gestures. First, I'm not a good person. Second, I told you I hate trouble more than anything, and you arguing with me here is making trouble for me. Got it? She looks dazed by my twisted logic, staring at me, not knowing how to respond. Looking at her like that, I sigh, walk over to her, and without any more nonsense, take the notebook and pen from her hand. I write quickly. Think of it as me buying insurance in advance. Study hard, get into a good college. If I'm ever down and out, begging on the street, just remember to give me a bowl of food. That'll do. I finish writing and push the notebook back into her hands. She stares at the words for a long, long time, then lifts her head. Those eyes, clean as mountain spring water, finally overflow. She doesn't cry out loud, just silently sheds tears, one by one falling onto the worn exercise book. I look away, a little uncomfortable. All right, stop crying. Your grandma needs you. What's all this sobbing about? I think for a moment and add, which school do you go to? I'll have Walter take care of your tuition too. From now on, I'll have him send you $5,000 a month for living expenses until you finish college and find a job. Don't tell me you don't want it. Consider it the insurance premium. Having said that, I can't bear another emotional scene. I give the doctor a few brief instructions, then turn and leave. Driving down the wide road, I find it all suddenly absurd. Me, the second young master of the Ashford family. Would I ever actually be down and out? Not a chance, okay? I'm just spending money to build up some good karma. After all, the people around me are each more ruthless than the last. I better stack up some karma if I want to live in luxury for life. However, I was ruined. Just 5 years later. My polished, pretentious, elite older brother Julian, after his marriage, actually cheated, with multiple women on the side. When the news broke, I was sunbathing on a private island. I almost laughed when I got the call. It was within my expectations. At the core, my brother is an indecisive coward who just loves to put on a devoted lover act. I didn't even bother flying back to watch this circus. Anyway, all elite marriages are pretty much the same. Until my bank cards started getting frozen, one after another, and every property, every stock and fund under my name changed owners overnight. Only then did I belatedly realize something was very wrong. By the time I rushed back from the island, the dust had settled. The Ashford Group had been renamed under the Sinclair name. My father was indicted on multiple economic charges with airtight evidence. For the rest of his life, he'd basically be sleeping on a prison cot. My brother Julian was kicked out with nothing. And me, a useless slacker who just wanted to coast. Even I wasn't spared. The private savings I'd carefully stashed away for over 20 years, every cent gone. I stand at the door of my own penthouse, staring at the two expressionless bodyguards in black suits blocking my way, my head buzzing. Hold on, Vivian. If you want revenge, fine. Take out my brainless brother. I've got no problem with that. but sending my dad to prison, gutting the Ashford group, what's that about? Thinking about it, I get angry all over again. Am I actually living in some female lead revenge story, ending up as the side character swept away as collateral damage? Just then, the door opens. Vivian is sitting on my favorite sofa, elegantly swirling a wine glass. 5 years on, she's even more beautiful and colder. That dominating aura of someone in control of everything makes it hard to breathe. She sees me, sets down her glass, and gives me a gentle smile. Theo, you're back. I say nothing, just stare at her. She stands and walks toward me, step by step. She reaches out to touch my face. Don't look at me like that. I didn't want this either. I tilt my head away. She pulls her hand back and speaks slowly. Your brother was too stupid. I gave him a chance. He just didn't value it. Vivian shakes her head, her expression turning a little playful. So that's your reason for wiping out my whole family? She pauses, her voice taking on a hint of seduction. But things are different now. He wronged me first. My revenge is more than justified. Now I don't need a husband. With that, she takes a step closer, radiating a strong predatory edge. Theo, are you interested in staying and keeping me company? I can take care of you just like before. I almost laugh until tears come out. I wipe the corner of my eye and look at Vivian's flawless face. Hearing that, I almost wonder if you're the one who sent Dorian off personally. Her smile finally freezes for a beat. Just an instant, but I catch it. The last shred of hope in me vanishes. Just as I thought, this woman has been a lunatic from start to finish, doing whatever it takes to get her way. I drop my smile, look at her with no expression, and slowly raise my middle finger. The last trace of a smile leaves her face, replaced by ice-cold indifference. You really don't know what's good for you. She waves a hand, not looking at me again. The two bodyguards immediately step up, one on each side, hauling me up like a chicken. I'm shoved roughly out of my own home. Standing in the empty hallway, I can't help but scoff. If I actually believed her nonsense and stayed, once she got tired of me, I probably wouldn't even know how I died. I know full well I can't outplay her. Even my dad, that old fox, got played by her. Someone like me, who only knows how to eat, drink, and have fun, what right do I have to fight her? Stay far away from this madwoman. Being alive matters more than anything. I pull out my phone, swipe open my contacts, and find the friends who used to call me bro every other word. I dial the first one. Hey Zane, it's Theo. 3 seconds of silence on the other end. Then carefully, who? Sorry, wrong number. The call cuts off. I freeze for a moment, then smile bitterly to myself. I dial the second. Same result. Third, fourth. Either wrong number or no one picks up at all. I lean against the cold wall, deleting those so-called friends one by one. By the end, only a few lonely family numbers are left on the screen. I sell everything valuable I have, and together it comes out to less than 100,000. In the old days, that wouldn't have covered one night's bar tab. Now it's my entire net worth. I wander the streets aimlessly, and somehow find myself back at the foot of my own building. I can't help but laugh bitterly. If all else fails, I'll just go find a job on an assembly line. Low bar to entry, food and housing included. Anyway, I've had my fill of 2 decades of the rich life anyway. Head down, walking and scheming, I suddenly crash right into a soft embrace. A faint, clean scent reaches me. I instinctively start to apologize, but when I look up, I'm suddenly caught in a pair of clear eyes. It's a pretty young woman, somewhat familiar, though I can't place where I've seen her, but she clearly knows me. I can clearly see her eyes, the moment she recognizes me, burst into an indescribable joy and relief. She opens her mouth, seems about to say something, then like she remembers something, she fumbles a phone out of her pocket and types quickly. The screen reads, Mr. Ashford, do you still remember me? Looking at the words, Mr. Ashford, I realize not many people address me like that these days. I study her face carefully. Fragments of memory slowly start fitting together. Suddenly, it clicks, and I'm a little surprised. 5 years ago, that trembling girl in the supermarket, the one who took care of her grandma in that rundown little room. It's you? Her eyes light up instantly, nodding hard, that joy nearly overflowing from her clear gaze. I'm even more confused. How are you here? She types quickly again, holding the phone out to me. The screen says, I saw the news about the Ashford family. I was so worried about you. I thought you might come back here to check, so I've been waiting here since yesterday. Something in my chest gives a hard thud. In other words, in the 24 hours since I was thrown out, she's been at the foot of this building I can no longer enter, in the clumsiest way possible, holding out an uncertain hope. A wave of absurd, complicated emotion rises in me. While my so-called friends were busy distancing themselves from me, a girl I'd almost forgotten stood vigil for me here, a full day and night. I tug at the corner of my mouth, wanting to say something. She seems to read my awkwardness. The screen shows, do you have nowhere to go? I stay silent, which is basically a yes. She puts away her phone, then does something I never expected. She reaches out and gently tugs the sleeve of my hoodie. Her grip is light. I could easily pull away, but that thin, pleading pull at my sleeve is like an invisible chain. I can't move. She turns and pulls me toward the street corner. Strangely, I don't resist, just follow her. We arrive in front of a small bakery glowing with warm light. The sign reads, Glimmer Bakery. The door is closed, but the lights in the window are still on. She unlocks the door, then turns back, signaling me with her eyes to step inside. The shop is small, but spotless. The air is filled with the scent of butter and wheat. She takes a carefully laminated folder from beneath the counter and pulls out a yellowed sheet of paper, pushing it toward me. It's that insurance clause I scribbled 5 years ago. If I'm ever down and out, begging on the street, just remember to give me a bowl of food. She points at the words, then at me, then at herself in the shop. Her eyes are serious, like she's fulfilling a sacred contract. Finally she turns and takes a still warm croissant from the oven and holds it out to me. No pity, no sympathy. Only a matter of fact, now it's my turn. I take the bread and bite into it. The taste can't compare to the fine cuisine I used to eat, but it brings a kind of peace. You guys hiring? She freezes for a moment, then a brilliant smile blooms across her face. She nods hard. That day, the muddled first half of my life ended. The second half is tied tightly to this little shop called Glimmer, and my boss is someone I once thought I'd never cross paths with again. A quiet, mute girl. Her name is Elise. With the money I gave her and her own savings. After graduating from college, she opened this bakery on the street. The shop is small, but business is good. The neighbors seem to look out for her especially, always going out of their way to buy a few loaves and chat for a while. It's not easy for a young girl on her own. Now she's got a helper, which is a relief to see. I wear an apron with a little bear printed on it, clumsily packaging fresh toast. Listening to all this, I feel no waves inside. Relief? I'm a useless guy who can't tell wheat from rice. Where exactly do they get that I look reassuring? Still, my arrival has lightened her load. At least heavy work like mixing flour and lifting sugar bags doesn't fall to a small girl gritting her teeth and pushing through. When the shop closes at night, we head back upstairs to that tiny home. If bare four walls described her old place, this one could maybe count as bare one wall. One dining table, 2 chairs, a sofa, and a little room partitioned off from the balcony. That's my bedroom. It's smaller than the bathroom in my old villa, but I sleep better than any night of the past 20+ years. No scheming, no hypocrisy. The air carries only the faint scent of wheat drifting up from downstairs. I start learning to be a normal person, learn how to sweep without kicking dust everywhere, and how to use a pressure cooker without blowing up the kitchen. Most of the time, the results are disastrous. I mistake salt for sugar, and make a pot of brutally salty red bean soup. She takes one taste, her little face scrunching up, but doesn't spit it out. She just silently drinks a big glass of water, then picks up the pen and writes in the notebook. The flavor is very unique. Maybe a little less sugar next time. Looking at her earnest expression, I'm both annoyed and amused. I snatch the bowl away and dump it in the trash. From that day on, I start learning sign language. I buy a stack of textbooks, and every night after she falls asleep in my tiny partitioned room, I practice over and over against the phone screen. From the simplest hello and thank you, to, you worked hard today, good night. When I first use awkward gestures to say good morning to her, she freezes. Then those usually calm eyes of hers look like a star has just dropped into them, startlingly bright. She lifts her hand too, and responds with utter seriousness. In that moment, I feel like nothing I've done in the past 20+ years has ever felt as worth doing as this. Days pass like this, one after another, gradually getting better. From a fool who couldn't even use an oven, I become a baking apprentice who can skillfully whip cream and pipe decorations. The shop's business keeps growing. We even take over the place next door, expanding the storefront. There's a decent amount in my account again, not huge, but enough for me to move out and rent a place. Several times I wanted to bring it up with Elise, but the words die at the tip of my tongue. Where would I move to? What would I eat? It's no fun being alone, and it's not easy for her, a young girl by herself. I can lend a hand, can't I? I make several excuses for myself and then guilt-free keep mooching off this place. Elise never brings it up either. She seems to have accepted my presence by default. I don't believe in love. My father, my brother, they're the perfect cautionary tales. But the calm of being with Elise, I'm addicted to it. I shake my head, trying to chase these messy thoughts out of my mind. It's almost noon. Time to make her lunch. I'm taking off my apron, about to go upstairs, when a familiar figure pushes the door open and walks in. She's in a sharply tailored suit, makeup polished, hair coiled up impeccably, radiating the elite aura of a successful woman. It's Brielle. 5 years on, the meekness and unease that came from her old poverty have been scrubbed completely away. She's no longer the high school beauty in a faded uniform who once begged me. The version of her now is refined, polished. Behind her stands a young man, early 20s, in a suit and tie, looking like a fresh college grad. The way he looks at me is full of undisguised hostility, probably her male assistant. Brielle's gaze lingers a moment on my little bare apron, her brow furrowing imperceptibly, then quickly smoothing back into that polished smile. Theo, long time no see. I nod, counting it as a greeting. My hands don't stop untying the apron. She seems to want to ask something, then thinks better of it. Finally, she takes a check from her bag and pushes it toward me. This is 1 million. I know we still have a few years before the 10-year deadline, but I can afford it now, so I wanted to repay you early. I glance at the number on the check, pick it up, and slip it into my pocket. Thanks. This is what I deserve, even though I never actually expected to get it back. Her male assistant, watching me pocket the money so easily, has even more contempt in his eyes. Brielle quickly composes her expression, her gaze sweeping across our tiny bakery and finally landing on my face. That look, I know it all too well. High and mighty pity. Theo, I heard about what happened with your family. If you don't have a suitable place to go right now, you can come work at my company. The company my husband and I started is still in its early stages, and we really need people. Watching her deliberately performative compassion, I feel my stomach turn. Back then, that deal was my investment. Now she's paying her debt. Neither of us owes the other. And now she puts on this act. She wants to turn her former creditor into someone she's giving charity to. I look at the male assistant beside her, whose expression keeps darkening, and suddenly I understand. She's enjoying the high of saving someone. Just like back then when I enjoyed her humiliation, now she's enjoying my downfall, except she's far more hypocritical than I am, wrapping herself in a warm, tender exterior. I refuse coldly. No need. I'm doing fine here. Riel's smile freezes for a moment. Theo, don't be stubborn. I know what kind of life you used to live. I cut her off, my tone already impatient. I said no need. She finally stops pushing. A trace of displeasure crosses that pretty face. Fine, if that's your decision, I won't push. The moment she turns to leave, the male assistant behind her steps up and gently extends a hand to support her arm. Riel naturally turns her head and gives him a smile only the two of them would understand. Right now, I casually pick up my phone and quietly snap a photo of them. The angle is perfect. In the picture, the assistant's hand is practically against her waist, and the smile on her face, no one looking at it would think it's just an expression aimed at a regular subordinate. I wave my phone at them. Take care, won't see you out. After that, I spend 2.5 minutes looking up her husband's public email online and anonymously send the photo over. Once that's done, I delete the photo and the send record. I feel a lot better. After a quiet lunch with Elise, my mind slowly settles down. I lean by the counter, thinking about what to do with this 1 million. The number is so clear it's almost dazzling. How long has it been since I saw this kind of money? At least our life finally doesn't have to be so tight anymore. Moreover, I can buy the new equipment Elise has been wanting all along now. The more I think about it, the happier I get. I've never felt 1 million was this useful. Just then, the doorbell jingles, and a clear, deliberately delicate voice cuts through my thoughts. Theo. I turn, and there's Celine. Huh, quite a few familiar faces dropping in today. If I remember right, Marcus. Her unfortunate husband has been dead for less than 2 years. Something I can do for you? I lean against the counter with no particular expression. She bites her lip, eyes shimmering. That want to say but can't look that makes me ask again. Celine's voice carries a hint of grievance. I wanted to see you. Miss Sinclair, what scene are you performing this time? I almost laugh out loud. Her eyes turn red, as if she's been done some massive wrong. Theo, I know I was foolish before. I did a lot of wrong things. I always thought I wanted the big, passionate kind of love, but now I finally understand. What I really want is just a steady home. Her tone is sincere, her gaze full of feeling. She lifts her head, those watery eyes fixed straight on me, brimming with longing and memory. Theo, let's start over. I know what you're going through. My sister really went too far, but it's okay. I can take care of you. Her tone carries pity and condescension. Oh ho, still pulling the reformed bad girl routine. But get this straight, when did we ever start anything? I barely hold back the urge to roll my eyes. My thoughts drift back a few years, to her grand and moving wedding with that former poor student called Marcus. At the wedding, she cried, saying Marcus was the light of her life, the happiness she'd hold on to no matter what. I was standing in the audience back then, watching that fool Marcus, completely overwhelmed by emotion. Only one thought was in my mind. He's toast. Sure enough, less than 2 years into the marriage, Celine was bored. Once the passion faded and marriage came down to ordinary daily life, she naturally tired of it. Then, a smooth-talking guy appeared, right on cue. Lucky for that poor Marcus wasn't a total pushover. He had evidence on Celine, and wanted to fight for himself. Then he ended up dead. There's no way the world deals out coincidences like that. This was almost certainly the work of my former sister-in-law-to-be, Vivienne. Pulling my thoughts back, I look at Celine, still acting out her devoted scene. The corners of my mouth curve higher and higher. Celine, do you think every man is a fool? Her expression stiffens. Your husband's funeral was very grand, I drawl. I saw the news. You cried like your heart was tearing apart. Truly heartbreaking to hear. Tears for anyone watching. Too bad. If only that night, at the hotel entrance, I hadn't seen someone who looked just like you, arm in arm with a handsome guy, stepping into an elevator. Celine's face drains of color in an instant. Oh, right, that handsome guy didn't get to enjoy it long either. Jumped off a building, didn't he? Celine, aren't you tired? I step forward and look straight into her trembling eyes. Wearing a mask, putting on shows every single day, doesn't it disgust you? Pushed back step by step under my pressure, she finally hits the doorframe, her whole body trembling like a leaf in autumn wind. You're talking nonsense. She fires back fiercely on the outside, but inside she's hollow. Her voice is thin as wind through a crack. I can't be bothered to keep talking. I'm not worried she'll retaliate. A woman this obsessed with playing the saintly role would never allow herself to lose composure and lash out in shame. Her persona is more important to her than her own life. She's worn that mask so long it's glued to her face and can't be peeled off. Get out. Like she's been granted a pardon, she stumbles out, her back a mess. The shop finally goes quiet again. I let out a long breath, like I've exhaled 5 years worth of accumulated bad luck. Light footsteps come from the stairs. Elise comes down holding a bowl of freshly made dessert. She walks up to me and hands me the bowl, her eyes asking what happened. I shake my head to indicate nothing. Elise signs, her face concerned. But you look unhappy. I look into her clear eyes and smile, not putting down the bowl, and use slightly clumsy sign language. I'm fine. She understands. A sweet smile blooms across her face. Sunlight pours in through the window, falling on us, warm. After that day, I stopped paying attention to that circle of people and cut off all contact with them. Now I just want to live well with Elise, running this little shop, living quietly. Every morning at 5, I get up half an hour before her, heading downstairs first to start the first batch of bread proofing. By the time she comes down, sleepy-eyed, the kitchen is already filled with the smell of wheat, and the hot water is ready. She always signs good morning to me first, then ties on her apron with practiced ease, and starts preparing today's desserts. We rarely speak, but our rhythm keeps getting better. Sometimes when things get busy, she gets so flustered she breaks into a sweat. I'll hand her a glass of ice water. When she takes the glass, her fingers sometimes brush the back of my hand, cool and soft. I start noticing all her little habits. She no longer cautiously tries to guess what I'm thinking. Life is full. During the day we run the shop together. At night she teaches me more complex desserts. Sometimes we spend an entire evening without making a single pastry, just talking, completely. This kind of understanding makes me feel safe. I start seriously considering one thing. I want to marry her. I don't believe in love, but I'm starting to believe that some people are simply meant to be together. I just simply want to keep going like this with her, forever. 3 months later I confessed to her. To be exact, I proposed. That day was her birthday. I secretly prepared a surprise in the shop. When she came down that evening, the entire shop was lit by candles. She stood at the foot of the stairs, stunned, covering her mouth. I walked over to her, knelt on one knee, and took out a diamond ring. Elise, I don't know how to say the pretty words. I don't believe in oaths sworn to the sea and mountains, but I want to run this shop with you until neither of us can walk anymore. Will you? She cries, tears falling like a broken string of pearls, one drop after another. She nods hard, then holds out her hand for me to slide on the ring. The ring is a little big, her hand is too thin, but she clenches her fists tight, refusing to let it fall. I pull her into my arms, breathing in the faint scent of her hair. In that moment, I suddenly feel like my past 20+ years were all preparation for meeting her. Our wedding is simple, not big in scale, just the neighbors and a few classmates and friends I'm still on good terms with. I'm not trying to put on a show, I just want to give Elise a proper wedding. The day before the wedding, I head to the barber to clean myself up and buy a decent suit. We picked out her wedding dress together. When Elise tries it on, her whole being glows. I stand outside the fitting room, watching her in the mirror, and it suddenly feels unreal. This girl, beautiful as an angel, is really about to marry me. The wedding day goes smoothly. Grandma is much better now, and comes to our wedding in a wheelchair. She holds my hand and says in a faint voice, "Thank you for taking care of our Elise." I feel a little awkward. She's the one taking care of me. When it's time to exchange rings, Elise's hand trembles. I hold her hand and whisper in her ear, "Don't be nervous. It's just a formality." She bursts out laughing, and the nerves disappear in an instant. "Mr. Theo Ashford, do you take Miss Elise as your wife, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love her and protect her?" "I do." "Miss Elise, do you take Mr. Theo Ashford as your husband, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and health, to love him and to respect him?" Elise can't speak, but she nods hard, then signs, "I do." The officiant freezes for a moment, not sure what to do. I smile, translating for her. She says I do. Warm applause breaks out from the crowd. When it's time for the kiss, she gets shy, her face red as an apple. I kiss her lips lightly, very softly, as if afraid to hurt her. Then I lean close to her ear and whisper, "Mrs. Ashford, please be good to me from now on." She laughs in my arms, shoulders shaking. The classmates come up one after another to offer toasts and congratulations. An old roommate I used to be close with says, "Theo, you've changed. You used to look like you couldn't care less about anything. Now you look like a normal person." I glance over at Elise, chatting with Grandma, and smile. Maybe because now I have someone worth caring about. After the wedding, we head back upstairs to our little home. Everything is the same as before, just with extra flowers and gifts from the wedding. Elise changes out of her wedding dress, puts on her everyday clothes, and starts cooking a late-night snack for me in the kitchen. I stand in the doorway watching her move around and suddenly feel content. This is the life I wanted, two people, living simply. She comes over carrying the food, sees me lost in thought, and waves a hand in front of my face. "What are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking about you." Her face turns red again. She gives me a playful slap. Then she writes in the notebook, "Theo, we're married now. Do you regret it?" I shake my head. "No regrets." "You?" "No regrets either. It just feels a little unreal, like a dream." I reach over and pinch her cheek. "Does that hurt?" She covers her face and glares at me, then writes in the notebook, "This isn't a dream, and I love you." When Elise writes those words, her fingers tremble slightly. Under the warm yellow light, her lashes look like butterfly wings dampened by rain. I stare at those words, and something slams hard into my chest. Not the racing heart of a school crush's confession, not the vanity of throwing money around, but a fine, dull ache, wrapped in a sense of solid ground I've never felt before. I take the pen from her hand, close the notebook, and put on a deliberately stern face. "Mrs. Ashford, writing this so late, are you trying to keep me up all night?" She waves her hands quickly, her face flushed, and clumsily signs, "No, I just want to write it down." I sigh, pull her into my arms, my chin resting against the soft top of her head. I know. The person in my arms quiets, her breath brushing softly against the side of my neck. In that moment, I suddenly feel the Ashford fortune, Vivian, Brielle, all of it. What I have right now is more precious than everything from the past 20+ years combined. But this thing called fate loves to trip you up just when you feel happiest. Life after the wedding is like bread rising in the oven, warm and full. We're up at 4 in the morning kneading dough. The first batch of croissants comes out at 6, filling the whole place with the smell of butter. Elise teaches me to pipe icing. My hands are clumsy, always smearing the cream into a mess. She never gets upset. She holds my hand and corrects me bit by bit. In the afternoon, when there are few customers, she naps on the counter, sunlight filtering through the display window, scattering little patches of light across her face. I often lose myself watching her sleep. How can this girl be so clean? Like she's never been touched by this muddy world. But mud always splashes up eventually. One rainy night, just before closing, a group of drunk men slam the glass door open. The one in front is the local thug, called Bruno. He He's tried to collect protection money before and got chased out with a broom by me. Now reeking of alcohol, he kicks over the potted plant at the door, his voice arrogant. "Mute, girl, get out here!" Elise is going over the day's accounts. The moment she hears it, she instinctively looks at me. I push her behind me, grab a rolling pin. "Looking for trouble?" Bruno grins, showing a mouthful of yellow teeth. "Young Master Ashford really thinks he's somebody now. Heard you married a mute. Me and the boys came for a celebration drink." His thugs behind him laugh raucously, their eyes glued to Elise, sickening to watch. I grip the rolling pin, knuckles white. "Get out of here." "Wow, protective so much?" He steps closer, alcohol breath blasting into my face. "You want to keep this shop open or not?" Suddenly, Elise steps out from behind me, holding a box of freshly baked cookies, forcing a smile, gesturing to them. She's offering it as a gift. In that moment, my heart feels like a needle pierced it. This fool always thinks kindness can dissolve cruelty. Bruno smacks the box away. Cookies scatter across the floor. "Who eats this crap?" He reaches to grab Elise's wrist. I completely snap. I swing the rolling pin straight at him. In the chaos, I don't know how many punches and kicks I take. I just remember shielding Elise tightly in the corner of the counter. Sirens approach, and the thugs scatter. Elise's trembling hand touches the blood at the corner of my mouth. Tears fall in huge drops, but she makes no sound. I wipe my face and force a smile. "What are you crying for? Your man is still alive." She cries harder, curling up in my arms like a frightened deer. That night, she sleeps holding my arm all night, jolting awake at the slightest movement. Looking at the dark circles under her eyes, rage churns inside me. What if I hadn't protected her today? The next day, I buy a solid steel rod at the second-hand market and put it under the counter. When Elise sees it, she shakes her head hard at me. I tap the rod and sign to her. "Self-defense. Better if we never need it." She lowers her eyes and writes in the notebook, "I'm afraid you'll get hurt." "I'm even more afraid you'll get hurt." I ruffle her hair. "Elise, you're all I have now." She looks up at me, eyes wet, and finally nods softly. The quiet days don't last long. Celine shows up again, just won't go away. This time she doesn't come into the shop. She parks a flashy red sports car at the curb, sunglasses covering half her face, and curls a finger at me. I'm hauling flour, can't be bothered to deal with her. She gets out of the car anyway, leans against the door and smiles. "Theo, does your wife know how you helped Brielle?" Her tone is taunting. My hand slips, the flour bag drops hard to the ground, sending up a cloud of white. Elise hears the noise and runs out, looking confused at us. Celine takes off her sunglasses, her gaze sweeping over Elise with undisguised pity. Poor girl, stuck with a loser who can't even afford a decent wedding. I clench my fists, veins throbbing. "Celine, shut up. What, are you scared? You weren't like this back then. When Brielle was begging you, weren't you enjoying that high of charity? Now you're putting on this devoted lover act?" Elise doesn't understand Celine's words, but she can feel the tension in the air. She gently tugs the corner of my shirt, her eyes full of worry. I take a deep breath, push down the anger, and turn to sign to Elise. "It's okay. Go inside first." Elise hesitates, doesn't move. Celine suddenly plays a recording on her phone that is Brielle's tear-choked voice in the Grove from years ago. "I'll give you my heart, everything I have, as long as you agree to one thing. I'm not a charity." Elise's face goes white instantly. She looks at me, then at Celine, her lips trembling, but no sound comes out. Celine puts the phone away, satisfied. "Little sister, you think he's a good man? Helping Brielle was just so he could enjoy watching her crumble. Helping you is probably just a whim, too. You're talking nonsense." I completely lose it, rushing forward to grab the phone. Celine screams, dives into the car, locks the doors, and the sports car peels away, leaving me and Elise standing in the cloud of dust. She looks down, shoulders trembling slightly. I want to touch her, but she instinctively steps back. That single step stabs into my heart. After closing that night, the atmosphere in the attic is heavy. Elise has her back to me, fixing the bed, refusing to look at me. I turn her shoulders, forcing her to face me. "Do you believe her?" Elise bites her lip, tears spinning in her eyes. She writes in the notebook, "Is what she said true?" "Yes, but also no." I wipe my face and tell her, from start to finish, how I rejected Brielle back then, how we set up the contract. "Elise, I'll admit I'm not a good person. But with you I never once thought of it as charity." She stays silent for a long time, so long I think she won't speak to me again. Finally, she lifts her hands and slowly signs, "I'm scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared that one day you'll get bored of me and not want me anymore." Her fingers tremble. "I don't have anything. I only have you." My heart twists, and I pull her tight into my arms. "Silly girl, I'm the one who only has you." That night we sleep wrapped in each other's arms, like two wounded animals licking each other's wounds. But Celine's words are like a thorn lodged in Elise's heart. She becomes sensitive. If I'm 10 minutes late getting home, she's restless. If a female customer chats with me for too long, she quietly walks away. I notice, but don't know how to fix it. Until one late night, I wake up to find the space beside me empty. Elise is curled in the corner of the balcony, crying silently in the moonlight. I walk over, hug her from behind. Her body stiffens, then softens, and she buries her face against me. "Elise, let me tell you a story." I tell her about my dad and mom, about my brother and Vivian, about the rot beneath that polished, glamorous surface. I never used to believe in feelings. I thought it was all just transactions. But you're different. I gently wipe her tears. "You made me feel like being alive could still have something human in it." She lifts her head. In the moonlight, her eyes are like black glass soaked in water. She reaches out and traces my eyebrows, eyes, nose, finally stopping at my lips. Then she leans in and very, very softly kisses me. It's a pure kiss, with no desire mixed in, like the first snow falling into a palm. I freeze, then kiss her back. In that kiss, something quietly melts away. The thorn Celine planted is silently pulled out. Life returns to calm, but danger always lurks in the shadows. One afternoon, an uninvited guest walks into the shop. It's Vivienne. 5 years later, she looks even more imperious. Her tailored suit looks completely out of place in the cramped bakery. She brings no bodyguards, comes alone. When her gaze lands on Elise, it carries a cold scrutiny. So this is the life you chose, tucked away in a place like this, playing house with a mute. I shield Elise behind me. Say what you came to say. She helps herself to a chair and sits down. Theo, you're still so naive. I recently dug up something interesting about this little wife of yours and where she comes from. Elise grips my arm hard. Vivienne slowly opens her purse, takes out a yellowed photo and slides it across. In the photo is a young couple. The man's features bear some resemblance to Elise, the woman holding a baby. Your grandma never told you, did she? She looks at Elise, a cold smile at the corner of her mouth. Your parents didn't die of illness. They were in a car accident, and the one who killed them was named Harold Ashford. Theo, that's your father, drunk driving. The air freezes. My head buzzes. I almost can't stay standing. Elise stares at the photo, face white as paper. Surprised? Vivienne stands, looking down at us. Theo, your father killed her parents, and now you're putting on this devoted act marrying her. How ironic. Shut up! I roar, but my voice shakes badly. Vivienne leans down close to Elise's ear, whispering, Little sister, did you ever guess he was only good to you out of guilt? Then she turns and leaves like she was never there. All that's left is a hellish silence. Elise doesn't move, like her soul has been pulled out. I reach out to touch her, but she jerks back as if shocked, her eyes empty and strange. Elise, let me explain, I'm not. Elise shoves me hard, rushes upstairs and slams the attic door, locking it. I follow up, banging on the door, but there's no response inside. After a long while, a slip of paper pushes out under the door. On it, in trembling handwriting, just a few words. Let me be alone. That night, I sit outside the door until dawn. There's never a sound inside, but I know she's not sleeping either. The next day, Elise doesn't come down to open the shop. I make porridge and bring it up. The door is still locked. Day 3, day 4, the same. She locks herself in, refusing food and water. The bomb Vivienne left behind almost completely destroys the world we just built. The days Elise locks herself in the attic, I'm like a caged beast, pacing back and forth in the cramped shop. Flour bags lie scattered on the floor, charred cookies from days ago still on the tray, the air filled with the sour smell of despair fermenting. Countless times I want to charge upstairs, smash that thin door in. But every time I see the notes she pushes out, her handwriting getting more scrawled and ragged, my reaching hand falls limp. I'm afraid getting close will be the final straw that breaks her. This helplessness is worse than facing the collapse of my family back then. Back then I could at least be angry, curse, grab my bags and walk away. But now I don't even have the right to be angry. The blood of the man responsible runs in my veins. Vivienne found my weakest defense with surgical precision and crushed it in a single blow. Late on the 5th night, a muffled cry comes from the attic, like a small animal whimpering, followed by the dull thud of something heavy hitting the floor. My heart stops. I can't think about anything else. I use the spare key and crash through the door. Elise is collapsed beside the bed, her face ashen, her lips cracked. Beside her hand is an overturned cup. She must have tried to drink water, but couldn't even manage that. Days without food or water, her body has hit its limit. I rush over and lift her up. She's light as a feather, as if she could vanish at any moment. Elise, Elise. I pat her face, my voice shaking uncontrollably. Her eyelids flutter, slowly opening a sliver. Her empty gaze lands on my face, unfocused. In that moment, I'm truly terrified she'll slip away just like this, that I won't even get the chance to make amends. I rush downstairs like a madman, heat up porridge, mix warm water, gently pry her lips open, and carefully spoon it in. She swallows mechanically, her gaze still scattered. After half a bowl, I bring warm water and gently wipe her gaunt face and her cold hands and feet with a towel. Through it all, she's like a doll, letting me do as I please. Only the occasional tear sliding from the corner of her eye proves she's still alive. I tuck her back into bed and lie down beside her fully clothed, holding her tight through the blanket. I don't dare sleep, terrified that if I close my eyes, she'll be gone. Elise, I whisper in her ear, my voice raw and rough. I know you can hear me. You can hate me, blame me, whatever you want. But you can't die. If you die, what do I do? I've lived more than 20 years and done plenty of rotten things, but I never tried to hurt anyone. My father's sins, I'll own them. If you think killing me would ease the pain, you can kill me right now. I grab her hand and press it against my own chest. But you can't punish me this way. Punish yourself. Your grandma fought to raise you, not for you to end like this. Remember the croissant you gave me that was the most bitter and the sweetest thing I've ever eaten. Bitter because of how lost I was, sweet because of you. This shop is called Glimmer. You're the one who lit it. If you're gone, this light goes out. My world really does go completely dark. I don't know how long I keep talking, until my throat is dry and aching. The body in my arms is still cold, but the breathing seems a little steadier. The next morning at dawn, I'm about to get up to make her something to eat, when a cold hand gently catches my sleeve. I whip my head around and meet her eyes. Still red and swollen, but in those eyes there's a faint glimmer of light. She looks at me, her lips move, with no sound but the shape forms the word water. I half stumble, half scramble to pour water, hand shaking so badly I spill half. After helping her drink a few sips, she leans against me, closes her eyes, and tears slide from the corners again. But this time it's no longer the deathly silence of despair, it's a worn, fragile softness. She's letting me close. That realization almost makes me weep with joy. The days that follow are slow, painful repair work. Elise's body gradually recovers, but the wound inside is nowhere near healed. She becomes unusually quiet, even more silent than before. She still helps me run the shop, but her movements are slow. She often stares blankly at the mixing bowls. At night she still wakes from nightmares, drenched in cold sweat. Holding her, I can feel her heart pounding wildly. She stops using the notebook to talk with me. When she occasionally needs to express something, it's only simple gestures. I know the thorn is still lodged in the deepest part of her. Vivian's words, like venom, are eating away at every bit of trust she has in what's between us. She starts instinctively avoiding my touch. When I put food on her plate, she pauses before accepting it. When I want to hold her in bed at night, she stiffly turns away. This deliberate distance is more suffocating than any fight. I understand she's struggling, re-examining everything between us. My help, my proposal, my love, was all of it just a late-arriving guilt of a son paying his father's debts? The turning point comes one afternoon. An elderly neighbor who often comes for whole wheat bread shakily hands us a thick envelope, saying her son sent specialty cookies from overseas, and she insists on thanking us for looking after her. Elise can't refuse and accepts it. Dear, you and your man are good people. These days, honest folks running an honest business are rare. The two of you have to take good care of each other. The elderly neighbor holds Elise's hand, talking on and on. After she leaves, Elise stands behind the counter, holding that box of cookies for a long time. Sunlight streams through the window onto her lowered lashes. I watch from a distance, not daring to disturb her. Suddenly, she turns, walks to me, hands me the cookie box, then points at the box of old things in the corner. Inside are a few photos from our wedding, and the battered notebook where she's kept the insurance clause I wrote her years ago. I freeze for a moment, then understand what she means. I walk over, dig the notebook out from the bottom of the box, brush off the dust, and hand it to her. She takes it, flips to the blank last page, picks up a pen, and starts writing. Her hand still shakes a little, but the writing is slow and firm. I dreamed about my mom and dad. They were in a bright place, smiling at me. They didn't seem to blame you. Here, she pauses a long time. The ink blooms into a small dot on the paper. Then she keeps writing. I was thinking, if you were only good to me out of guilt, then when I was stealing bread, why was there only impatience in your eyes? No pity. You just made one phone call, like handling a minor inconvenience. Why did you freeze for a long time, and then your ears turned red when I said yes to marrying you? She lifts her head, looking at me through tears, her eyes filled with enormous confusion and a sliver of hope. She isn't questioning me, she's asking me for an answer that could help her walk out of this nightmare. I look at her, my heart squeezed as if by a gentle hand. I take the pen and write below her words, stroke by stroke. Elise, I'm not a good person. When I helped you, I wasn't thinking that much. Maybe I was just in a good mood that day. Maybe the first just didn't want trouble. When I married you, I didn't quite know if it was love either. I just felt being with you was steady, not exhausting. But now I know clearly. I can't stand seeing you cry, can't stand seeing anyone hurt you. When you're in pain, I wish I could take it for you. None of this has to do with who my father is. It has to do with you being Elise. If we have to talk about guilt, the only thing I feel guilty about is not meeting you sooner, letting you suffer so much, and not protecting you well enough, letting you suffer again because of me. I hand the pen back to her. She looks at my words, tears falling harder, but the corners of her mouth lift slightly. It's a smile uglier than a cry, but it's the most beautiful expression I've ever seen. She picks up the pen and adds 3 firm words after mine. I trust you. Then she puts down the pen and reaches out on her own, gently taking hold of my fingers. Her fingers are still cold, but that firm grip instantly clears away every shadow in my heart. That night, she finally doesn't sleep with her back to me. She curls into my arms like a baby bird that's finally found its nest, breathing evenly and long. Listening to her breathing, I think it's the most beautiful music in the world. We know the scar is still there, maybe we'll always be there, but at least we're learning to live with it. And because we carry this weight together, the bond between us has only become stronger. The decision to leave the city is made a few days later. It isn't entirely because of Vivian's threats. It's more about wanting a change of scenery, a place without the shadow of the past, where we can truly start over. Elise agrees without any hesitation. To her, wherever I am is home. We sell Glimmer Bakery, pack our bags, and prepare to head south. When the neighbors hear we're leaving, they come to see us off, pressing bags of local specialties into our hands. Elise, if anyone ever gives you trouble, you come back. I'll stand up for you. The old neighbor lady holds Elise's hand, wiping her tears. Elise nods, eyes rimmed red, and presses a bag of freshly baked cookies into her hands. The night before we leave, we're packing the last things in the attic. Elise digs out a tin box from the bottom of the closet. Inside are Grandma's belongings, a few old photos, and the insurance clause I wrote her years ago. The paper has yellowed, but the writing is still clear. If I'm ever down and out, begging on the street, just remember to give me a bowl of food. She looks at the paper, suddenly smiles, and starts crying as she smiles. She picks up the pen and writes a few words on the back solemnly and hands it to me. In this life, my bowl will always be half yours. My eyes burn. I pull her into my arms. Okay, it's a promise. When the train starts moving, the city that carried so much of our pain and warmth fades farther and farther outside the window. Elise falls asleep on my shoulder, her hand still gripping the corner of my shirt. Sunlight pours through the window onto her face, calm and peaceful. I lower my head and kiss the top of her hair and close my eyes. What the future holds, I don't know, but as long as she's with me, anywhere is home. We eventually settle in a small coastal town, using the money from selling the shop to open an even smaller one named A Bowl Shared. Elise handles the baking, I greet the customers. Life is modest but peaceful. She slowly walks out of the shadow, and the smile returns to her face. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, she still wakes from nightmares, but I'm always the first to hold her, gently patting her back until she falls asleep again. One evening, a year later, we're walking hand in hand along the shore. The sunset melts gold over the sea, the tide rolling gently. Elise suddenly stops, pointing at something glinting in the sand. I pick it up, a piece of glass smoothed round by the waves, refracting warm light in the setting sun. She takes the glass, holds it up to the light for a long time, then places it in my palm, folds my fingers shut, and signals for me to keep it safe. I tease her. A love token? She nods hard, her eyes shining. One afternoon, the weather is muggy, and the shop has almost no customers. Elise is at the workstation, preparing tomorrow's cake bases. I'm at the counter, going over the books. I hear a very faint sniffle, look up, and see Elise's hand holding the whisk frozen in place, staring blankly out the window. Outside, a young father walks past carrying his little daughter on his back, her bell-like laughter drifting in through the glass. I put down the ledger and walk over to her. She doesn't look at me, her gaze still following the father and daughter, until they disappear at the corner. Her face in the afternoon light looks a little pale, her eyes filled with something I can't describe, a complex mix of longing and sadness. I gently touch her arm. She snaps out of it, forces a smile for me, shakes her head, signaling she's fine, then lowers her head and stirs the batter in the bowl harder, as if trying to chase something away. I know, she's missing her own parents. That childhood, the one that should have been full of laughter with her mom and dad, is a hole she can never fill. Vivian's words are like a poisoned thorn. Even on the sunniest days, they still find moments to sting her. That night after closing, we sit on the step at the back door, feeling the sea breeze, the waves gently lap against the shore. Distant fishing lights flicker in the distance. Elise leans against my shoulder, very quiet. I hold her hand. Her palm is a little cold. Elise, I break the silence. Should we go visit them? Her body stiffens slightly, and she looks up at me, confused. I mean, visit your mom and dad. I weigh my words. I know where the cemetery is. It was in the files Vivian left. We go and talk to them, tell them you're doing well now, and also say sorry on behalf of my father. The last few words come out with great difficulty, but I know I have to say them. Elise freezes for a long time. Tears quickly gather in her eyes, but she forces them back. She looks at me, her eyes full of struggle and fear, but finally turning into some kind of resolve. She nods hard. We pick a clear morning, close the shop, and head to the cemetery on the outskirts. Carrying a bouquet, Elise tied herself with white daisies and green eustomas. This cemetery is quiet, nestled against a hillside facing the sea, a peaceful resting place. Following the records, we find the joint grave. The headstone is simple, with Elise's parents' names carved into it. The photos have faded beyond recognition. Elise walks up to the grave, crouches down, and gently places the bouquet. She reaches out, wiping the dust and fallen leaves off the headstone with her fingertips. Her movements as gentle as if touching a fragile dream. She doesn't cry, just silently wipes. Sunlight falls on her focused face, holding a stillness nearly sacred. I stand behind her, letting her have time with her parents. After a long while, she stands, turns to me, and waves me over. I walk up and stand beside her in front of the grave. The sea breeze stirs our hair and our clothes. Elise looks at the headstone, then at me, then raises her hands and starts to speak in sign language, slowly, as if pouring her whole heart into every gesture. Dad, Mom, this is Theo, my husband. She pauses, takes a deep breath, and continues. He's very good to me. We have our own shop, called A Bowl Shared. Life is peaceful. I'm content. We know about what happened in the past. Her hands grow heavier, but remain firm. It was a terrible accident, but I know it wasn't Theo's fault. He's not the same as his father. She turns her head, looks at me, tears finally sliding silently down her face, but a smile at the corner of her mouth. She continues to the headstone. So please don't blame him and don't worry about me. I'm happy now, truly. Watching her introduce me to her parents in sign language, defending me, telling them about her happiness, my throat feels like something is choking it shut. My eyes burn. I reach out and tightly hold her free hand. I face the headstone and bow deeply. Straightening up, looking at the faded photos on the stone, I say solemnly, Dad, Mom, I'm Theo. I'm sorry, and thank you. Thank you for bringing Elise into this world. Please rest assured, as long as I'm alive, I will never let Elise suffer again. I will use everything I have to protect her. I speak slowly, every word from the bottom of my heart. I know a promise in words is light, but it's the only thing I can do. After paying our respects, we walk hand in hand toward the cemetery hillside. On the way back, Elise seems unusually light, like she's set down a heavy burden she's been carrying for years. She even excitedly points at wildflowers along the road and signs to me, saying we could try using the juice from that flower as a natural food coloring. After that, I notice a subtle change in Elise. The faint shadow that lingered in her eyes seems to have lifted a lot. Her smile becomes brighter and more open. She starts more actively planning the future with me, like what flowers to plant by the shop's entrance, or whether, once we save enough, we should rent out the place next door to expand the shop, even signing that maybe one day we could adopt a child. I know that trip to the cemetery wasn't just a comfort to her parents, it was a formal goodbye, from both of us, to the past. We can't change the tragedy that already happened, but we can choose how to face the future. We carefully poured out that bowl full of bitter memories. Then in the remaining half bowl, added understanding, forgiveness, and the sugar Elise brews with her own hands, slowly and carefully tasting the flavor of the rest of our lives. One day after closing, we sit by the sea watching the sunset, the dying light dyeing the water a gorgeous gold. Elise rests her head on my shoulder, and suddenly traces a few characters gently into my palm. Not sign language, written with her finger. I read carefully. She writes, "A bowl shared, a heart full of joy." I lower my head and kiss her hair softly.